Hello, I'm Tina, a 34-year-old woman and the proud owner of a beach resort in my state. Being the proprietor gives me the flexibility to choose where I work, and I've decided to operate from the comfort of my own home. Unfortunately, my decision hasn't sat well with my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, resulting in months of bullying and belittlement. Nevertheless, I stood my ground and asserted myself in a way that maintained my dignity. Let me share my journey. I grew up in a family deeply involved in various industries, with the hotel and resort sector being our most profitable. At 17, I began interning at our lakeside resort, quickly making it an integral part of my life. The thrill of interacting with guests and managing accounts became a daily joy. Encouraged by my enthusiasm for the family business, my parents surprised me with a momentous gift for my 24th birthday. Sweetie, your dad and I have been contemplating something significant for a while now. We believe you've shown more than enough potential, my mother said, handing me a set of documents. These are for you. We're transferring ownership of the lakeside resort to you. Overwhelmed with gratitude, I embraced this responsibility and promised not to disappoint them. I poured my heart and soul into the business, and within a year it flourished, ensuring financial stability for the long haul. While my parents played a vital role in my success, meeting my husband Tom through a dating app added a new chapter to my life. About 6 years into my ownership, while my professional life thrived, my romantic life felt like a tragedy. Loneliness drove me back to the dating app, where I matched with Tom, who exceeded my expectations. He was charming and more handsome in person than his profile suggested. Our connection deepened and we enjoyed numerous dates together. Guided by my parents' advice to be cautious, especially regarding finances, I approached relationships carefully. I dated Tom for 3 years before revealing my wealth, and his nonchalance reassured me. He emphasized that it was who I was that attracted him, not my financial status. I kept my wealth a secret for a long time, eventually entrusting Tom with the information and asking him to keep it confidential, which he agreed to do. Our wedding was a joyful celebration, with most guests from Tom's side. While I had met his mother Chloe and sister Olivia several times before the wedding, they seemed decent enough, albeit with occasional awkwardness and hushed conversations. I paid little attention to their behavior as long as it didn't affect my relationship or life. However, I was concerned about their actions and understood my desire to keep my distance from them. A month after our wedding, Tom approached me with a request. Babe, my mom and sister are struggling right now. Can they stay with us for a bit? They're behind on rent and facing eviction. I empathized, especially since my own mom and sister were in a similar situation. I agreed to let Chloe and Olivia stay with us under the condition that they actively contributed to the household. My mom mentioned they would be staying for about 6 months to find work and save up for a new place. I reassured her that I'd ensure they helped out around the house. However, things took a turn I hadn't anticipated. For some reason, Chloe and Olivia assumed Tom owned our home, which wasn't an issue for me, but it complicated matters. I actually earned significantly more than Tom, a fact he chose not to disclose to avoid any exploitation. This misunderstanding led them to belittle me, and they consistently neglected their chores, leaving a mess throughout the house. Despite Tom's repeated requests for them to clean up, they dismissed him, using their familial bond as an excuse. Owning the resort granted me the freedom to work from home, but oddly, Chloe opposed this arrangement and Olivia was openly disrespectful. They regularly interrupted me, increasing the tension while I tried to manage essential tasks. If I had a meeting scheduled, they would assign me errands right beforehand. When I attempted to resist, they would lament their financial struggles or lack of transportation. Compounding the issue was their unemployment and apparent lack of effort to find work. They seemed to take advantage of our hospitality, consuming our resources without any sense of accountability for their mess. I wouldn't have minded their presence if they had just taken responsibility for their surroundings. Chloe and Olivia regarded me with a condescending air, and while I managed to endure it for a time, their constant trivial comparisons eventually became exhausting. They viewed me solely as a stay-at-home wife tethered to my computer and phone all day, dismissing the hard work that my husband Tom put in to support us. Tom shared my frustrations. He too grew tired of feeling inferior due to their unintentional yet cutting remarks. Most of all, he despised their blatant disregard for me and their audacity to walk all over my feelings. The breaking point came when I invited friends over for brunch. I informed Chloe and Olivia about the gathering, politely asking them to avoid the common areas for a few hours. They agreed without hesitation, which struck me as a bit odd, but I decided to let it slide. Unfortunately, my gratitude was misplaced. Half an hour into the brunch, Chloe and Olivia strolled in, introducing themselves to my friends. Irritation surged through me as they proceeded to portray me as a pampered individual who merely lived off the efforts of others. Despite the obvious discomfort on my friends' faces, they revelled in the awkwardness, delighting in my embarrassment and enjoying the opportunity to expose the dynamics of my relationship with my mother and sister-in-law. An uneasy silence fell over the group as they laughed at my expense, clearly aware that any reaction from me would only serve to fuel their amusement. I stood up, signaling to my friends that we needed to leave. They quickly agreed, and we rushed out as if the house were on fire. A thought I momentarily entertained. Once outside, I retreated straight to my room, seeking solace from the looming presence of Cheryl and Olivia until my anger subsided. Their blatant disrespect lingered in my mind, igniting my fury. They had crossed a line, and I was determined to make them understand the source of the funds that sustained their lifestyles. I waited patiently for Tom to come home weary from his day at work. When he asked about my day, I recounted the events, emphasizing the inappropriate behavior of Chloe and Olivia. Indignant on my behalf, Tom suggested we confront them, but I held him back, revealing my plan. I was considering something a bit unconventional. How about we propose a brief getaway to the seaside and invite them to my private retreat? Brilliant, that'll establish clear boundaries, he replied, nodding enthusiastically. However, here's where it gets a little darker. I'm thinking of not letting them stay, just drive them there and leave them behind. We can enjoy our time and return home, letting them figure out how to get back. Let's undo it. They've earned it. Do you want to kick them out entirely? Honestly, yes. Perfect. We'll draft an eviction notice beforehand and hand it to them right before we leave. It'll be the ultimate lesson. Why did I ever doubt you would be on board with my plan? We scheduled our vacation for the following week, aligning it with Tom's schedule. During that week, I consulted my attorney about notarized the eviction notice, eagerly anticipating the moment I could reveal the consequences of Chloe and Olivia's actions. Once Tom secured his leave, we met to finalize our plans, determined to make this vacation feel authentic, to amplify the satisfaction of our revenge. Our goal was to leave Tom's mom and sister feeling emotionally shattered, while also marking a new beginning for ourselves, finally allowing us to live on our own terms. I immediately contacted my brother to change the locks on our doors and enlisted his friends to help pack up. Chloe and Olivia's belongings. It was a firm decision. I wouldn't allow them back into my life, and they would understand that the drive to the lakeside would take about half a day, giving them plenty of time to express themselves. After all, I knew I would have the last laugh once everything was in place. We decided it was time to inform Chloe and Olivia about our vacation plans. We approached them casually, suggesting a lakeside getaway and inviting them to join us. Their response was anything but agreeable. Despite the palpable tension, we remained composed, explaining our intentions. Faced with their objections and accusations, we stood our ground, resolute in our decision to embark on this vacation that symbolized our newfound freedom. As the days passed, my irritation grew, mirroring Tom. The entitlement displayed by those three was astonishing. The only thing preventing me from losing my cool was the plan I had meticulously crafted. I braced myself for the inevitable insults and taunts, knowing I needed to endure it to get through the weekend. As we prepared for our vacation, Chloe and Olivia chatted incessantly, their noise a constant backdrop. Despite it all, Tom and I exchanged knowing glances, sharing our amusement. Upon arriving at our destination, Chloe and Olivia got at the resort and all loudly discussing its beauty. They kept highlighting Tom's ability to afford such luxury, which made him visibly uncomfortable as he kept his head down. Chloe and Olivia seized every opportunity to belittle me, insisting I should be grateful for Tom's invitation and implying I didn't deserve his kindness. Nevertheless, I walked into the resort with my head held high, their taunts echoing behind me while Tom waited with the bellhop to unload our things at the reception. The receptionist greeted me as boss, triggering an immediate outcry from Chloe and Olivia, who insisted they were more deserving of the title. I calmly countered, stating that Miss Tina was literally my boss. Their confusion and disbelief were palpable, and Chloe demanded to speak to the manager, completely unaware that the highest authority of the establishment was right there with us. My mom, I doubt there's much my manager can do for you, I said, watching their faces drain of color as they tried to argue further with the receptionist. She stood her ground, insisting I was indeed the owner of the resort. I observed them falter, slowly realizing how poorly they had treated me. It seemed they finally connected the dots. Understanding that my time on the phone and laptop was spent working hard and earning my keep. When Tom entered, they immediately turned on him, expressing their outrage. How could you deceive us? What's going on here? Unfazed, Tom replied, why should I disclose my wife's ownership of the resort or her financial status? It's not my place to share someone else's business. You've embarrassed us all this time, they exclaimed, their voices rising. Tom responded calmly, if knowing about my wife's status was necessary for you to treat me decently, then I'd rather not have you in our lives. I interjected, you don't get to decide what's best for my son, to which Tom added, Mom, check right, are you really siding with them over us? I've repeatedly asked you both to stop being unkind to Tina, but my pleas fell on deaf ears. Your disdain has been evident whenever I'm around, and I've reached a point where I want no connection with either of you, so consider this your eviction notice. When you return, you'll find your belongings packed and removed from the house. I've changed all the locks, so don't bother trying to get in. Good luck finding your way home. Their sudden departure left us stunned. You can't just abandon your family, Chloe shouted. If family meant anything to you, you wouldn't have treated me this way. Here's $250 to help you get back home. Goodbye. The look of sheer disbelief on Chloe and Olivia's faces was incredibly satisfying. Finally, I could breathe easy in my own home. My sanctuary was becoming Peaceful again, and Tom mired my relief, his joyful demeanor unmistakable. Our getaway had been delightful and we returned home with a renewed sense of excitement. Now 7 months later I remain resolute in my commitment to protecting my peace. Bullies in families can be unbearable and I refuse to enable them again. Thankfully Tom supports my decision wholeheartedly. The aftermath for Chloe and Olivia remains uncertain. Their belongings disappeared upon our return. Tom had to fend off accusations from family members, providing evidence to dispel the lies and manipulations spun by his mother and sister. From what I've heard, Chloe and Olivia have been ostracized by the family, receiving no support. We successfully eliminated one of the most toxic influences from our lives, leading to greater happiness and vitality. I wouldn't have it any other way.